KnightsOfHyrule.org, and this is Kooloo, Limpah, the Knights of Hyrule mailbag, where I talk about Zelda in all of its tri-earthly glory. Today's first question comes from Hiroki, who asks, do you think there will ever be a sequel to Twilight Princess? The game shows Link leaving at the end, maybe on another adventure? I do think it's possible that there will be a Twilight Princess sequel, but I don't think it will be with the same Link. Yes, we do see him leaving at the end, but he's probably just going on a ride. If you read Hyrule Historia, it's mentioned that he ends up staying in Ordon, which makes sense because his dream all along was to become mayor of Ordon. However, Hyrule Historia does also mention that because of the events of Twilight Princess, the two realms are now aware of each other. And because they're aware of each other, there's a lot of strife between the two, which leads to a lot of problems. So yes, I do think it's likely that a Twilight Princess sequel will be made in the future. Maybe they'll save those really awesome graphics we saw in the Zelda Wii U tech demo for a future Twilight Princess sequel. And Kuma779 says, does nostalgia affect your opinion of a Zelda game? I think anybody who would say no to that would probably be lying. I think even those of us who are the least biased are still affected by nostalgia in some form. However, on a personal level, I make sure that I really pay attention to the games I'm playing and try not to let nostalgia get in the way of most of my opinion making. As much as I loved Ocarina of Time when it first came out, I was still able to better appreciate The Wind Waker. I think one of the reasons my opinion is always changing on my favorites is because I can go back and play these games and reappreciate them, or see something that I liked before and decide, no, it's not that impressive. I think constantly replaying these games as you get older and having a better understanding of the different aspects in these games allows for you to, kind of weed out those nostalgic feelings and see the games for what they really are. But I think for me, most of the nostalgia comes from who I was experiencing the game with, not how I was experiencing the game. For me, Zelda has always been a family game and something I played with my family members. SNESman91 says, do you think Vati could be the reincarnation of Girahim, just like Ganondorf is the reincarnation of Demise? I know Vati is Minish, but would it be possible? Possible? Yes. Likely? Doubtful. There's really no reason for Girahim to be reincarnated. He's a spirit of the sword. He's the same thing that Fi is. We don't really even know if they actually die or not. After you beat Demise in Skyward Sword, Girahim in sword form dissipates, but who says that he's really actually gone? If that was the case, then I think the Master Sword probably could have or would have been defeated long ago. And even when the Master Sword has lost its power, say in The Wind Waker, it's still there, it just needs to be, reawakened. So maybe Girahim isn't actually dead and therefore can't reincarnate. If he is dead, why would he reincarnate? He is a sword. There's no reason for the sword to reincarnate into another person. Modakri, I'm sorry I don't know how to pronounce your name, says, do you think they should reintroduce a leveling system to Zelda? I'm sure Nintendo could put a new spin on things, but I don't know that a leveling system would be practical or even necessary, or even good. What I do think would be good would be focusing a little bit more on a leveling system on items and weapons. Maybe go back to visiting blacksmiths and having them temper your sword, or even gaining experience with your weapon as you fight. Then Gemma asks, is there an afterlife in the Zelda universe? In Ocarina of Time, Kome and Katake seem like they go to heaven when they are defeated. As you mentioned, Kome and Katake do get halos over their head and seem to ascend into the heavens. But then there are creatures like Pose, who are pretty much souls of those who passed away. With characters like Sharp and Flat, who are obviously dead, and they still retain consciousness of their life as a living person, yet they haven't passed on. And then there are the skeleton pirates from the Oracle games who can't seem to pass on either. They pretty much are shipwrecked and say that they can't pass on, they can't move on to the afterlife. There is mention of an afterlife, but who goes there and why they go, it doesn't seem very clear. And then there's also reincarnation. We have Link, who he is not necessarily a reincarnation each time. A reincarnation would mean that the same soul is constantly reborn, but the spirit of the hero, mainly the heroic essence, is constantly reborn. Maybe reincarnation is saved for those who are tied to fate for specific reasons. Maybe the goddesses have a certain purpose for these people, and therefore they need to reincarnate. Maybe there is no hell, which would explain why Kome and Katake, who are two evil witches, get to go to heaven. But maybe heaven isn't even heaven in the sense that we know what heaven is. Maybe it's simply living as a higher form, a higher being, a spirit of some sort, not a spirit like a Poe. But yes, there is an afterlife of sorts, though it hasn't been explained in detail. Okay, Zelda fans, that's it for this week. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and all that good stuff. Leave your comments and questions in the section below, or send them in an email to mailbag@knightsofhyrule.org. And if you have a Wii U, be sure to add me there as well. Alright, that's it. I'll see you next week. Bye!